the dentist in the dark.
Hi, I'm Ade. Welcome. I'm a self-taught artist, and most of my inspiration comes from like the books I read and the TV shows I watch. Because often I'm watching something and then I'll see like a scene where the colors are really cool or the composition's really cool, and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta paint that. Anyway, so the first thing we're going to be painting today is this scene from the TV show where Percy discovers Riptide for the first time. And then the second one is going to be just like a painting of the ocean, but kind of like inspired by the whole like Son of Poseidon vibe. And then towards the end of the video, I'll give you like a little tour of all the Percy Jackson core paintings I've been doing because I've been working on a couple before today. So I'll give you like a little tour of, yeah, the whole collection so far. And yeah, this is something I've just been working away at. I mostly just paint for funsies and when I feel inspired. So this might just be like a little ongoing project for me. Also, I would love to do like a little bit of yapping about Percy Jackson in general because I have some thoughts, I have some feelings I want to share. For me, this revival of Percy Jackson with the new TV show coming out has just been so healing for me. I first got introduced to Percy Jackson by seeing like the OG movie back in like 2010 when I must have been like 11 years old. And so, gosh, the world was such a different place then. But even though so much has changed, like I see myself in all the like young teens at the moment who are having like a similar reaction to the TV show, if that makes sense. So like I watched the movie and I was 11 and I was like, oh my god, Percy, he's so cute. Like, oh. And then like having a crush on the actor Logan Lerman, and then kids these days, they're like, ah, Walker is so cute. And so I'm like, it's the same thing. So even though so much has changed since I was that age, and sometimes the world feels like a little bit disorientating, like I don't recognize it anymore. It's kind of grounding to see people having like the same experience that you had. So like that's one way it was healing. And then the other way it was healing was just like for me personally, when I watched the Percy Jackson movie all those years ago, I was just like interested in the plot, right? I was just like, "Ooh, who's the lightning thief? Like what's going on? Like how is this all gonna unfold?" Like I was interested in the plot. Whereas now I'm in my late 20s, I got something different out of the TV show. Like at first I was like, oh, like I don't know if I'm gonna watch this because I've already, watched the movie, read the books. Like I know what happens. I know the plot. But I don't know, I got something different out of the story this time. I found it really I had like a really emotional reaction to it actually. I just had a different perspective on the story and it meant something different to me this time. I mean, a major thing I should mention that is relevant is a few years ago I got my ADHD and autism diagnosis. And so that's actually something that's really present in my life at the moment that I'm unpacking and exploring and figuring out. And so the opening couple of episodes of the Percy Jackson TV show, which focuses a lot more on how he didn't fit in at school and trying to figure that out. And then coming to Camp Half Blood and being accepted. So, like, finding that place that felt like home for him was just something that made me so much more emotional this time around. And I felt like it was explored probably a little bit deeper than in the movie just because of the fact that there's more time in a TV show to like show little scenes like that. It hit different. And when he was like, "Oh, there's something wrong with my brain," I was like, "Oh, oh." But then like you have that moment where you feel like that, and I felt like I don't know. In high school, I felt like all the time I was like, my brain hurt, and I couldn't explain why. And I told my mum, I was like, "Mum, can I go see a psychologist? Like, I don't know what's wrong, but something's wrong. Like, something in my brain doesn't feel right." And my mum was like, "You're being dramatic. You're just tired. Go get a good night's sleep. You'll feel better in the morning." Which was questionable. A lot of things about my parents is questionable. They're not my favorite people, but I figured it out in the end. I took myself to therapy. So now I know ADHD and autism. Yes, that is how my brain works. And my brain is so much happier now that I'm like accommodating myself. So yeah, I don't know, like seeing that representation of like that process I've gone through of like him being like, "Oh, like something's wrong with my brain," but then like getting to a space at Camp Half Flood where there's other people who are like him and he fits in and it's normal and it's just like it's just a safe space, like that hit very different this time around. And it made me very nostalgic for Camp Half Blood, and it almost made me feel this like homesickness for it. I know that sounds weird because like I've never been there and it's not a real place in the real world. But yeah, I felt this really deep sense of homesickness and like longing of like wishing I could go there and have this place where I belong. And I think that's because something that being like a neurodivergent adult, I really struggle with maintaining social connections. It's like different from when I was in high school and university. I was like forced to socialize by the fact that like I had to attend classes. And like once I'm there, I'm okay and I make friends. But my natural like habitat is my room. I'm like never leaving my room. And so like once I stopped being forced to like go outside, yeah, I don't know, it got a little lonely for a bit. So like the thought of being able to go to Camp Half Blood and just have this space where I was able to like hang out with people and people like me and just have friends. I had a bit of a cry at the end of the first season. I just like finished watching it and I was just like, oh, like I wish I could go there. And I felt really emotional about it. And it's like not just about having friends or being around people. It's like in the real world, for me to go out and like go to a camp or like be around people all the time, it's usually just like really draining because I'm masking a lot of the time. And that's one of the reasons why I stay cocooned in my room and like tucked up is because I need that space to recharge. But I guess like part of my fantasy of what Camp Half Blood would be like is the fact that I wouldn't need to mask as much because like if everybody there has ADHD or whatever, like I wouldn't need to worry about masking as much. So I'd be able to have those social connections without feeling as drained and without needing to retreat into my own space as much, if that makes sense. And also just like the kind of activities you'd get up to at Camp Half Blood, I think would be one, super fun, and two, just like not as difficult for me. Like things like sitting in a classroom all day inside always made me so anxious. And like Camp Half Blood is outside, and I know I feel my most like happy and grounded and like restful when I'm outside in nature. Like I don't get overstimulated by like the sound of birds or the sound of wind in the trees. I get overstimulated by like artificial environments and like the bright lights in an office or whatever. And I'm not like homesick for it, but like I'm homesick for it. I don't know how to explain it. There's this like deep sense of longing. I don't know, maybe my life's really boring and I just really want to go on an adventure. But like just feeling like you belong in a group and having people there to support you and like look out for you. I don't know. I'm like the hyper independent eldest daughter kind of vibe, and so the thought of like having people you can rely on a quest or something and like people taking care of you or like looking out for you, it just oh, it hit me right in the feels. I just really loved having Percy Jackson back in my life. And it was completely unexpected as well. Like I read the initial five books and watched the movie or whatever back in like 2010, 2011. And then I kind of like I just hadn't revisited that world since. It was just like a really joyful thing. Like usually I'm looking forward to like the next season of a TV show coming out or being like excited about it. But with this I just like didn't expect it at all. And then suddenly this is like whole fandom and whole world that I've like re-entered, and it's also so different re-entering a fandom like in the age of like social media and internet and short form media as well, because when I read Percy Jackson back in 2010, like I was borrowing those books from the library and I didn't have a computer or a phone or anything. I just like read those books in isolation and then like returned them to the library and I was like, oh yeah, they're pretty good. Whereas now, like I can go to Pinterest and like look at the different like cabin aesthetics and feel inspired. And I actually like, I think if I had all the time in the world, I would do like a series of paintings of each cabin aesthetic because they're so pretty and they're so like different in their and beautiful in their own ways. Like I wouldn't just do like the Percy Jackson course, I don't know, Poseidon aesthetic. I would do one for each cabin. I don't know. I'm just feeling very inspired and like very like full of like love for this story and love for the characters. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to season two. Yeah, if there like are some really aesthetic scenes in there, I guess I'll just have to like do a part two of this video and paint some more Percy Jackson core scenes.